Good afternoon, Justice Warriors. Lights, camera, action. Action Jackson. Um, Good afternoon. It is just after 2 o'clock here on the East Coast timeline. January 2nd, Monday still. 2023. How did that happen? Happy New Year. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm always so happy to be on with my people. I will start out by saying everything I say is simply my opinion, simply for the sake of conversation, opening up a discussion, a lot of speculation based on facts, and hoping to be educational for myself and anyone else who's interested, made specifically for YouTube, and therefore, as being content for YouTube, YouTube is an entertainment platform. So I always like to cover the blanket of entertainment as well as education, even though education is really my focus, entertainment is not. So, I mean, unless you can think of having an education be entertaining, then of course it is. So anyway, I haven't seen anybody say hi yet. So if you're out there lurking, please say hi so I know that it's working. But like I've said in my last couple of lives, getting started and not seeing anyone in chat, I know hey, Phantasmic Ether, there you are. Just found you. I know we're all so overwhelmed with so much good content right now. So I'm sure a lot of people watching all the different shows are probably watching 2 and 3 simultaneously on different devices. And there's nothing wrong with that if you can handle it. For myself, sometimes I can handle that, but it's hard. I don't absorb much and it might make me feel stressed out. But there are times where I really want to be watching 2 things at once. So I will admit that I do that. I don't think I've tried 3, and I probably could at some moments, but for the most part, I like to try to slow it down and just do one thing at a time and keep it simple. I think that's super important with everything in life. So let's talk about it, right? Everything in life. I have to look under the live tab now to find your lives. Yes, me too. Brenda says, just woke up, 5 a.m. here. Happy to see a live is on. 5 a.m. in the UK, Brenda. Thank you for joining me, you guys. I'm very excited to see both of you. So I'm coming on again to speak to the Idaho 4 case that is just coming unraveled, is it not? I mean, the floodgates have just busted open. There's so much information, so much good information. But yet I could still cry. I could cry for being overwhelmed. I could cry for these families and these freaking victims. Grr, it's so frustrating, is it not? Queensland, Australia. Very cool. And Phantasmic Either says, great way to start the day. You look beautiful today as always. Love your decor. All the plant and floral, so pretty. Well, I try with the decor to make it pleasing to the eyes. Try not to overdo it. And I just try to look okay. Like I seriously, I'll tell you my little makeup, my beauty secrets, because I hardly wear makeup ever. I wear like lip gloss or chapstick. I wear a little bit of mascara and or eyeliner when I'm doing these. Pretty much it's the only time. And that's basically it. So, I don't use filters. I try not to worry about all that stuff. I try to focus on my content. Like I don't worry about my hair. I just hide it with a hat. And I, put the justice on the hat. This is Justice Boots because it used to say Justin Boots. And then I turned the Justin into Justice and haven't done anything with the boots. But anyway, enough about all that. That's not why you're here. That's not why I'm here. That's just part of the gig that you have to deal with. Phantasmic Ether says holiday and the crazy goings on worldwide, not to mention good old Mercury in retrograde. Is that what it is? Thanks for the compliment on the hat too. I love my hat. I loved it when it said Justin. And then, of course, it took me forever to realize, hey, I could turn that into Justice real easy. Anyway, yeah, I love having this this content. I love having this show. I love having this creative outlet. I love having you guys. You guys are what make it great. I literally couldn't do it without you. So thank you for your participation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Let's get into it because it's just so much. So at the end of the last live this morning, somebody was saying something about Police Chief Fry's Smurf shoes. So I don't remember if that was you, Phantasmic Ether, or I don't think Brenda was in that one. If you remember what the Smurf shoes was, or if it was you, I didn't get a chance to go back and look at the comments in my reviewing of the tape. But I did catch in my reviewing of the tape that I screwed up the Rumble in the Jungle. It was not George Foreman, I think. Is that it was George Foreman, but I said the other guy. Here, let me look at my notes. I said George Frazier, who is another amazing boxer, but it was George Foreman, The Rumble in the Jungle. It was 1974, October 30th. Why does it say my battery is low? God. Wow, it is always something. So we should be fine. It just popped out of the socket. It's just one thing after another. Hey, Susan Dodge. I'm glad got the first notification, but not the second. Found you. Joe Frazier, right. But George Foreman was the Rumble in the Jungle. Thank you. Right. It's what was his nickname? Smoking Joe. That's what they called George Frazier. So he was another excellent boxer, born in 1944, died in 2011. George Foreman, born in 49, still alive at 75. And then Muhammad Ali, I wrote down his stuff too, but where did I put it? And now I'm making a fool of myself if I don't know Muhammad Ali. Did he? Yeah, he was born 1942 and he passed away in 2016. There I go, making a fool of myself again. 2016. He died 6 years ago. So most of us know Muhammad Ali very well, right? I mean, floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee. We know George Foreman really well from all of his young sons named George Foreman and his awesome George Foreman grills. And then Joe Frazier, I think most of us know him too, even though he died 11 years ago. All those guys are just amazing. So that whole thing with the Rumble in the Jungle and the rope-a-dope is it's history. You know, it's part of our American history, but it happened in Africa. That's where the Rumble in the Jungle took place. And I didn't write down which country in Africa. If anyone knows and wants to share, that's cool. Might have been South Africa, right? Anyway, it was hot. You're really close to the equator and all that. So yeah, also beat Leon Spinks to regain the heavyweight championship. Yeah, and I looked up who the greatest boxer of all time was, and I didn't write it down, of course, so now I don't have that. I want to say Sugar Ray Leonard, but anyway, if you hit Google greatest boxer of all time, it'll tell you. It told me that Muhammad Ali was the fifth in line and George Foreman and Joe Frazier weren't even on there. But come on, those things are biased, right? It's a matter of opinion. 2 in 1 day, Kale says. Rocky Marciano, I'm not sure. Oh, is that who it said is the greatest of all time? Anyway, let's pin this Phantasmic Ether atom. Equator. I gotcha. I follow. Equator, like atom. So yeah, I'm still very suspicious of these suspicious characters in the Idaho 4 mass killing. I'm still suspicious about the same people that I've been suspicious about. And I want to know more. I want to know what that still shot of the back of the bar roughly 90 minutes or 2 hours before the quadruple homicide. I want to know more about that still shot. Who took it? It looks like it's from camera number 3 of their video surveillance cameras. What's up with the other surveillance cameras? And where's the footage and who is it in the photo? The faces that you can see quite clearly are Atom and somebody who looks exactly like Jack D, who people have said is indeed verified Jack D, but I don't know if that's true. And then Hoodie Guy, you can see the back of. Maddie, you can see the back of. Kaylee, you can see the back of. There's a few people's legs and stuff. And then there's the dude standing by the door with his thumbs in his pocket or thumb in his pocket. And his face blurred out. Whose face is blurred out and why? And is that Jack D or not? And so many questions. So many questions. We do have a lot of answers, which is nice. It's nice for the families that they're getting some answers. Who actually released it to the interweb sleuths? That's a great question, Kale. Yeah, that photograph. Where did it come from? How and why? And the timing of it. And then it was like literally less than 24 hours from the time it was put on the airwaves that that was in fact Jack D, then there was the arrest. Like that. So then nobody cared anymore that that was Jack D. Like, I'm super curious. I want to know. And the family has to know the answers to all these questions. I still feel sus about them as well, that Jack D lied about where he was. Why? Unless they put it out to make BK think Jack D was being a more targeted suspect or something. Right, Phantasmic Ether. And it's so hard to trust anything. So, for those of you that did not catch, Crime Circus did a live today that was phenomenal. It's only 22 minutes long, so it should be easy to fit into your day's activities if you haven't watched it yet. I highly recommend it. And where to even begin? I'll just start with that kind of a reaction to Crime Circus because I just think he's the bomb. He spoke a lot about the accused killer. He did address the issue of accused suspects from himself and other people. And I totally stand with him right there that yes, we are all allowed to voice who our suspicions are geared towards. And there's nothing wrong with that. And even if the accused, the arrested, even if he is guilty, that still doesn't tell the whole picture. We want to know what is going on with all these other parties, all these other interests. Kaylee's family is stating that there's some connection between Kaylee and the alleged killer, and that's not been shared yet. We don't know what that is yet. So Evil Exists, I saw a short that Evil Exists did where they're looking up all of the social media accounts of the deceased and of the accused, the arrested, and Evil Exists is comparing. It's phenomenal. I highly recommend checking that out. So he was following all four of the victims. It looks like I'd have to go back and watch it more carefully because I was just kind of stunned and I was doing other stuff while I watched it. But I was like, whoa, this is wild. And I love that these content creators know how to do all that stuff and show us their sleuthing while they're doing it. And I don't even think that Evil Exists says anything in the whole video. They're just going through the channels and showing that he's following all these people. So it's really good information. So I haven't looked up the Mad Greek, but I'm sure all of us have heard by now that the Mad Greek had vegan menu and might be like the only place in the town that has vegan. I don't know about Pullman, where the alleged killer resided. But I don't know that the whole restaurant of the Mad Greek is vegan or just they have a vegan menu. I was curious about that. I mean, because when I eat Greek food, I like the gyros. I like the lamb and beef combination thing. I don't like it. I love it. So I really like Greek food a lot too, Mediterranean food. There is a lot of really good Mediterranean and Greek food that's vegetarian. Falafels are one of my favorites. I can get really excited talking about all that healthy food. Um, so yes, back to what Phantasmic Ether said. I'm all excited that Jack D lied about where he was and whose face is blurred out and why. When information is being concealed and or changed, those are huge red flags. So what is up with that? Why is the person's face blurred? And why is Jack D changing his story? And what is the deal? What's the deal? No telling if any of the um uh new BK um no telling if any of the suspects knew him. Right. Uh, he advertised on the internet. That's what I was getting at. He was on social media a lot. And of course, all of those college kids were on social media a lot. These days, most of us are on social media a lot. So did they come across each other on social media? They probably came across each other right around the address of 1122, if indeed one of the sisters lived there. So he does have two sisters. Um, I'll say their names just to not be confusing. And of course, we don't want to dox anybody. Their names are going to be all over the internet already. They are all over the internet already. So I know I'm not doxing them. Otherwise, I wouldn't say the names. But the ages. So Brian, I don't like to say his name, the accused is 28 years old. He turned 28 8 days after these four people were massacred in the home. He's got one sister named Melissa, who's 31, who's a counselor in New Jersey. And then he's got another older sister, Amanda Marie or Anne Marie. I think she goes by both of those names. She's 34 and she's also a counselor. And I think that's the one that might live right there near the 1122 address. So Amanda Marie, the 34-year-old, this was an interesting little tidbit. She played a part in a movie 11 or 12 years ago in 2011. She played a part of a character named Lori in a horror movie called 2 Days Back. So that's going to be interesting to look into that, huh? So, some of the things that I wanted to talk about again, I mentioned briefly, and I didn't really get into it, so I'll get into it. The thing with the Green River Killer. So I've shared with you guys some about a handful of people that I knew directly who knew Ted Bundy directly because I lived out in the Seattle area for a long time, where he had lived for a long time. So that was extremely interesting hearing firsthand stories of people who knew him and knew him well and liked him. He was so likable. There was nobody that ever got a creepy vibe from him that I've ever talked to or that I ever have heard about secondhand or indirectly. Nobody ever got a creepy vibe from Ted Bundy. And I didn't look up how many victims he had. I was looking at Dennis Rader. I was looking up Robert Yates. Robert Yates was busted in the year 2000 in Spokane. So that's right near Pullman. That's right near Moscow. Robert Yates was a father of five. And the reason I looked up Robert Yates was because of a comment somebody made in the chat earlier about the accused being noisy. His neighbors complaining that he was noisy, that he'd be vacuuming at all hours of the night. And I immediately thought of Robert Yates because Robert Yates was a father of four, I think, four or five, and all girls, I believe. And he was a normal guy with a normal job, and all the neighbors said that he was really normal and nice. But the one thing he did that was really annoying was he would run his bulldozer in his backyard all hours after midnight till 3 in the morning. Nobody ever suspected him of anything except being really loud with his bulldozer or excavator. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was a bulldozer, but it could have been an excavator. Whatever it was, a piece of heavy construction equipment in his backyard, rearranging the dirt in the darkness of the night routinely. And nobody ever suspected anything. They just thought, dude, quit with the heavy machinery in the backyard. You're waking me up. Nobody ever questioned it because he was just like this normal Mr. Nice guy next door with the wife and the kids and the steady job. I forget what job he had, but it was like, I want to say he was like a maintenance worker, or he worked for the city of Spokane or something like that for like 30 years. He was just like this regular guy. That was Robert Yates. Robert Lee Yates. And how many killers do we know that have that middle name Lee? Too many. Too many. It's a very common middle name for people that are not of that persuasion as well. Let me read a few of your comments. Oh, Phantasmic Ether says, checked out Crime Circus finally. Drip Drop is adorable, isn't he? I know, I think he's super cute. I just love his presentation. When I first checked him out, I was like, who is this weirdo with the spiders on his cheeks? Like, what's up with that? I love the way he presents his material. I love the way he talks. I love the way he looks at the camera. I love the way he does his research. He's great. He's a really awesome content creator. Pullman is more of a metropolis than Moscow. Yes, Moscow is itty bitty, itty bitty. So let me just say this about that police chief of Moscow. As far as I know, he's lived there every day of his life. And I'm all about stability. I'm all about small town goodness. And I'm also all about education and experience and travel. And for anybody to live in one town their entire life, that concerns me. I think there's a beauty to it, but I also think there's a beauty to spreading your wings and flying and having more experience. And, you know, when I heard that about him, that was a red flag right away. I was just like, you know, he should try to get out more. So again, yes, I'm being a meanie. Okay. I think anybody in a job like that has to have a thick enough skin to deal with any kind of criticism like that. Because they're going to get all kinds of criticism, whether it's valid or not. That when you're a public person, you know, that's what you're signing up for. So if you want the job, you know that that's part of the deal and you have to deal with it. And you know, if you're secure in what you're doing and who you are, you do deal with it and you just don't really let it affect you. That's a large part of being a grown-up, in my opinion. Simply my opinion. Okay, so Pullman is a lot bigger than Moscow, but Pullman is also super tiny. Again, it's all relative. Even Spokane, the biggest city in that area, is not a big city. It's all very rural. It's all very conservative. Um, there's just not a lot there. And people that are from there who love it there will tell you that. That's not a criticism at all. That's pretty much just straight up fact. Too coincidental, Miss Anonymous says, but I don't know what she's referring to. Oh, just all the people knowing each other in the small town. Please share. I'll highlight your thing, Miss Anonymous. Please share what you mean by too coincidental. Oh, are you talking about the fact that videotape still shot that they had just publicly ID'd Jack D less than 24 hours before the surprise arrest? Is that what you're talking about? Because that would make a lot of sense. Love Euros as well. Always used to get it when I lived in California at a great place. Yes. I feel some of them had to know BK if any of the victims did. Yeah. It sounds like, you know, there's a ton of speculation that he probably knew the girls from the Mad Greek. I mean, he was following them. He was clearly following them. 3 different accounts that are clearly him. That are shown on that Evil Exists short. So definitely check that out. But Kaylee and him had some type of social interaction or connection, it appears. We will find out. I feel some of them. Okay, we just read that one. Funny because I still get the creeps from Mark Harmon. He is always Ms. Bundy to me. Um, I'm thinking the actor Mark Harmon and that he played Ted Bundy. I don't know because I didn't see it. Mm, thank you, Kathleen. And I just did that thing that annoys me so much where I make a noise when I drink. Kathleen says, I love your show. And that is really nice. Thank you. And I apologize for making a noise when I'm drinking. It might not bother you guys, but it bothers me to no end. I'll have to delete it out. But see, I try not to delete things out of my lives because when you edit a live, it becomes not alive anymore. And then it's harder for people to find it because it's hard enough to find the lives, but then it goes back into your regular video category. So, like, I don't mind that, but editing is a pain. It's time consuming. I'm glad that I know how to do it now because sometimes you have to. And sometimes it's just really nice to. But what's not nice is you lose all of the comments, you lose all of the views, you lose all of the likes. And if I edit the live like I did on Saturday night, Sunday morning, I want to delete the other one so that people don't watch the one with the mistakes in it. But like I said, you lose everyone's comments. And thank goodness when I deleted that one yesterday morning, there were no comments. I was really glad because I hate losing people's comments. Like I feel bad doing that. Um, and there were a whole bunch of views. There were hundreds of views and hundreds of likes, and those were all lost. But, I didn't have to lose any comments, so I just bit the bullet. Then I thought I lost the whole edited video. So I was so happy when that was recovered. Um, Especially because I had a really rough day yesterday, as you guys know, with the puppy dog. We had 3 dogs, so now we have 2. The one author that wrote all the books that was BK's professor called that something like mental safety net, Xena, when the family and the neighbors don't suspect anything. It's normal, she says. Well, and I always say, Moxie, that's a really good comment. I always say that, of course, nobody suspects anything. If people suspected stuff, they would never get a victim, right? I mean, again, maybe that's why Charles Manson had people doing it for him because he was so crazy with those freaking Charles Manson eyes. He probably couldn't get anywhere near a victim, although, he did have a lot of people that were his supporters and liked him. But, if somebody's got the crazy killer eyes, you're gonna see that they're a crazy killer way before they get a chance to hurt you, luckily. But so many of them are the wolves in the sheep's clothing, and you have no idea. So Ted Bundy, one of the most notorious killers of modern history, is one of those. He was a nice, intelligent, funny, witty, interesting, just everything everybody ever wanted in a friend. Like, seriously. Um, anyway, I wanted to talk more about that too with the BTK. That one is Dennis Rader, and he was arrested in 2001. So the guy Robert Yates was arrested in Spokane in 2000. Dennis Rader was arrested, I believe, in Kansas in 2001. Robert Yates had 11 victims that are known. The Green River Killer had 49 that he confessed to, and probably well over 90 total. And I can share with you a lot about the Green River Killer because unfortunately I was there for that too and knew people that knew him directly. So I'll talk. That's what I wanted to talk about was the Green River Killer. He's totally freaky. And then what year was he arrested? I think he was arrested in 1991. So about maybe 100 victims, 49 confessions. With that many, they can't even remember. They can't even keep them straight, but I can share with you. So the one author that wrote the books, that's the one I have highlighted right now, that BK's professor called that something like a mental health safety net when the family and neighbors don't suspect anything. It's normal, she says. and allegedly innocent. I really like her channel. She's sick, but she's still trying to put out some content because she knows a lot. And she was speaking to the author of the book that is that woman is one of his mentors. She's one of his mentors. So he modeled himself. It sounds like after BTK is one of the serial killers that he was modeling himself after. But that professor that was his mentor is ready for what's coming because she knows she's going to get thrown into the fire with this, right? I mean, any intelligent person would recognize that and not get defensive about it. You can't get defensive about that. You just got to be a grown up. So I'm curious to know BK and Kaylee's connection because her fam isn't wanting to divulge it yet. Right, Phantasmic Ether. And it might be something that is really embarrassing to them. Like maybe she was on a dating website. I don't know. And what's embarrassing to them might not be something that would be embarrassing to a lot of us, but they're not ready for whatever reasons. And yeah, it'll come out in time. I'm sure this is going to just continue to be bombshell after bombshell right now. Kathleen says, I live in Tri-Cities, Washington, only about an hour and a half away from Pullman. I'm so glad he is caught. Yeah, yeah. See, I used to live in Western Washington, and I have family that lives in Spokane, and I've been out that way a few times. Um, so, yeah. Tri-Cities, for people who don't know, I'm pretty sure that is Pullman, Moscow, Spokane. I could be incorrect, that might not be the three cities, but Kathleen can tell us. Because an hour and a half away would probably be Spokane. That I think that Spokane's about 90 minutes north of Moscow. And then Pullman and Moscow are really, really close together, just a little bit east and west of each other. And can you believe it that we're all here? Slurp away, Brenda says, not a problem at all. It bothers me. Like, I don't mind it when I'm doing it, but when I watch my video, I'm just like, you have to do that. So anyway, that's just one of the biggest peeves that I've discovered with this whole process. It's hilarious because you see yourself doing things and saying things that you're just like, I didn't know I said that or did that. Like I kind of talk out of the side of my mouth, but we don't need to worry about that. We're just going to keep going forward. Just catching this live. Hey, Dana Diddles. Glad to see you are still cracking these cases. I don't want to say obsessed because that kind of has a negative connotation. I'm extremely interested and excited about learning these things. And this is like let's just talk about the book thing, okay? One of the things allegedly innocent said, and so I really want to kick her the credit for that because I think she's spot on, is that this alleged killer was probably doing research to write a book. And we were speaking about this in one of the lives in the last couple of days. The one where someone was saying that they had a neighbor that would like hide in people's cars or weird stuff, and that the neighbors were very creeped out, but the person was a really great writer and wrote some famous book that we've all heard of. If you guys remember, if that person is in the chat, you can reshare. And I was talking about people when they write books and they get all wonky with their research. People can really lose their minds in their research. Like this guy, this suspect, could simply have been doing research to write great books. Like, that's how crazy it can get. And it sounds very likely that that's what he might have had planned. So let me get caught up. Where did that go? A one-way street. That's so crazy. You would think all the adrenaline would age these killers prematurely. Yeah, absolutely. But like I was saying in my live earlier today about like kickboxing and boxing, when you're in that fight or flight mode, it actually puts you in like your peak physical and mental performance. So, I mean, it's a disgusting way to think about it, but on an animalistic level, that could make you really healthy, maybe. I don't know. I mean, because stress is one of the biggest killers in our health industry. And the stress of fight or flight isn't the worst kind of stress. What the worst kind of stress is the prolonged low grade kind of stress that is not really fight or flight, but kind of, and it really eats away at your whole um, just your whole system, your whole composition, and that can cause heart attacks. I mean, people literally drop dead from stress every day, is what I like to say. Literally, stress can kill you. Stress kills people every freaking day. But the stress of being in fight or flight doesn't usually kill people because they're in survival mode, and their body, their adrenaline, their animal instinct just takes over. So it's more the psychological stress that can mess with you. Um, let's see. I think I'm just about caught up. So crazy, you would think. Okay, yeah, we got that one. I want to highlight that. Oh, right, and it was on Manson's birthday. Thank you for saying that. A one-way street. I believe that Charles Manson, and I hate to say horrible people's names. It's like speak of the devil shall appear. I do not like to say their names. That dude, I believe his birthday was November 12th, maybe. I haven't looked it up, but I've heard a lot of people talking about it because the crimes happened on November 13th, which was the anniversary of something else huge, too, that I'm not remembering. Thank you, Kale. The author and the professor is Dr. Catherine Ramsland, if I'm saying her name right. So, yeah, she's ready for people to fry her, and grill her and put her in the fire. She understands because of the line of work that she was in and because of her connection to this guy. So she's prepared. She can handle it, I think. She's ready. And Kathleen says, you said it perfectly. Hello, Mick Carey Poo. Yeah, it's fun to smile. Thanks, One Way Street. I'm going to highlight that one because, yeah, it was a really rough New Year's that I can't talk about because then I won't be smiling at all. And tragedy, feeling the pain is really important. But one of the reasons dealing with your pain and dealing with grief is so important is because then you have the capacity to feel joy. If you try not to feel your pain and not to feel your grief, you are going to detach yourself from feeling, period. So it was a hard weekend, and I'm just very grateful for everything. So I'm feeling it, baby. I'll tell you guys more about it when it's not so fresh. Let's see. I found out that my grandfather, who lives in Pennsylvania, is only 7 or 8 miles from Scranton, where they got this piece of crap. Yes. And I'm not sure what you said. Hi, I was watching Brit's last live. Oh, allegedly Brittany. That's who you're talking about. She's great. She's been doing so many lives lately. Oh my goodness. And long ones. Girl's on fire. You are intrigued with this case. Hello, everyone. I am. I think it's really important to understand these situations in order to keep ourselves safe. And with my own history and my own trauma, it makes it even more important for me. It's like, seriously, one of the most important things in my life is to pay attention to things like this because of what I've gone through, which I've shared with you guys a little bit. Somebody made an attempt on my life when I was 11. So that's what keeps me laser focused on this crap. Okay. And I can laugh about it. I can talk about it. I'm okay with it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's not that I want to keep things mysterious or secretive. It's that I don't want to get distracted. I want to stay focused on these things. And I've had a lifetime of therapy for it, but very important to know that any trauma at all kicks up your old trauma, no matter how much you think that you've put it to bed, that you've done the work, that you've had your therapy, that you understand, that you're okay with it, that you're at peace with it, whatever. Trauma kicks it back up. So some crap like this happens in Moscow and it kicks up my trauma from that crap. So that's why I get so fired up and caught up. And I feel very justified and relevant and um, fortunate to be able to work out my own issues continuously while focusing on other people's issues, which is kind of an escape from my own problems. Like that's the beauty of it. That's how I saw my craft as a counselor. People would sometimes say, "Doesn't it drag you down to listen to other people talk about their problems all day?" I'd be like, "Drag me down? First of all, you're paying me big money. And second of all, it's a paid vacation from my own problems because I got to focus on your problems or I'm a stupid bad therapist." So I need to know what my own issues are. I need to be in touch with them. I need to be working them out, but I need to be focused primarily on my client. And, as much as I can talk in these videos and talk and talk and talk and have so much to say, as a therapist, you don't do much talking. You got to do a lot of listening, active listening. And if you can do that, if you can listen and hear people, you're a good therapist. It's pretty easy, but it's a lot easier said than done. It's hard because we always want to talk about ourselves. We always want to get, oh yeah, that reminds me of the time I, and you got to stay focused on them. So it's a paid vacation from your own problems, I think. And that's similar to how I feel with following true crime is it's sort of a vacation from my own problems, but at the same time, simultaneously working out my own baggage, hopefully. Um, let's see. I was caught up and then I fell behind. Maybe it's because these killers don't have the same emotions as normal people. They definitely don't. They don't have the capacity. And that's one of the reasons why they do extreme things like that is to feel alive because they're so detached. So one would have thought the alleged heroin use would have wrecked his health. It's a good point. Yeah, because it does. It really takes a lot out of a person. Um, oh, I'm sorry. Miss Anonymous says that they get horrible panic attacks, and that's really hard to deal with. Um, so I got all caught up and now I got behind. Where did that one go? I'm going to highlight what Miss Anonymous said. And Kale, my helpful mod, says there's 17 likes and a whole lot more than that in chat. So we're happy that you're here. Please hit that like button if you don't mind. She said it's 50 in chat. Hit the like button. Think about subscribing if you like and share the video, please, if you like. Sharing our videos is the best thing you can do for the content creators that you want to help be successful and continue. If you like the content, you want more of it, you want to share those videos just to keep the channel growing. Everything is in a state of growth or decomposition, basically. Nothing stays static. So if your channel's not growing, it might seem like it's staying static, but really it's decompensating. So you want to keep moving forward, right? Anyway, enough of my little thing there. So November 12th, Heavenly Clouds was checking the birthday of that creep that we don't want to mention the devil's name. Oops, I was only passing on. I apologize. And I'm not sure what you're referring to, a one-way street. Okay. And I wish I had half of your wonderful memory. Oh, you are so sweet. A lot of times my memory is really good. But like I said earlier today, this is why I'd like to review my tapes so that I can make corrections and not be spreading misinformation or disinformation. I screwed up with the rope-a-dope thinking it was Joe Frazier when it was George Foreman. So George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, October 30th, 1974, Rumble in the Jungle, one of the most famous and historical fights of all time. Wonderful, wonderful video clip. If you Google it on YouTube, it's fascinating. And like I was saying earlier about when Muhammad Ali came off the ropes and punched George Foreman, I think he punched him twice. He was about to punch him a third time and he stopped because he realized that no, Like, so, I mean, so more mad respect to Muhammad Ali, because getting caught up in the moment, a fighter might want to win the fight so much that they wouldn't catch themselves and realize that he could have actually caused great injury to George Foreman had he punched him that last time. When he stopped himself, he was like, oh, job's already done, I don't need to do that, take that down. And I mean, what a great fighter to not, you know, no overkill. I mean, it's a terrible thing. I mean, fighting, I don't really think is the greatest thing. I think sports are great, and I know that a lot of people think it's the greatest sport. But I think that when people do overkill, metaphorically or literally, that is just so awful. And thinking about this case with the Idaho 4, so awful. Just verified online, 11/12/34. Oh, 1934 was the year that POS was born, the one that we don't want to mention. Okay, good to know. Thank you, A1 Way Street. Don't you love Google? I just love that when you're wondering or you can't remember, you can just Google, and usually Google will cooperate. Not always. Google doesn't know everything, and sometimes Google's misleading. You got to know your stuff, right? So you are the other people that he asks, is there anyone else arrested yet? Good question, Alistair Grant. I love that question. Who are the other people that he asks, is there anyone else arrested yet? So it could be that he's just being clever and throwing a curveball to the law enforcement. It could be that he was worried that maybe his father got arrested for driving across the country with him, for aiding and abetting. It could be that he was wondering about other people that he had involved in this. So it's a really good question. Who are the other people that he asks? There may be other people for real, and there may be that he was just doing that to be a jackass and throw them off. We don't know yet, but my guess is that there are other people, because that is such a huge series of crimes and events for one person to do all that. I mean, yeah, he was smart and he was studying and he, had a lot of resources, but still, no matter who you are, that there's got to be other people that know something for sure, in my opinion. Okay. Intrigued is a better word than obsessed. So smart you are, Kale. Thank you. I'm going to highlight that one. And then I'm going to try to get caught up with the chat because I'd like to be in real time. World Kindness Day, a one-way street says 11/13 is World Kindness Day. What was the other big crime that happened on that day that's an anniversary of? Thank you, Brenda. I'm so grateful for you too. So, and happy New Year to everyone. I hope this is a really good year for all of us. And a one-way street says, it sure does. I was adopted, enough said. Not sure what that's in relationship to. Understandable how that happens to you. Happy New Year, Jess. There are definitely triggers to take your emotions back. Yeah, triggering is a really key word too. It's 100% about the client's needs, Miss Anonymous says. Absolutely. And yeah, if you can't focus 100% on your client because you're too wrapped up in your laundry list or your grocery list or your own issues, then you shouldn't be taking their money. And you got to stay 100% focused on someone else, which is hard, which is why it pays well. If it's a very challenging thing to be 100% focused on someone else. But like I said, the flip side of that is that it's 100% vacation from your own problems. So that's the beauty of it. I think you would be an amazing therapist. Oh, Brenda, you're so nice to say that. And, and I want to say there's a lot of bad therapists out there. So people need to be very careful who they trust. And I think it's like that in any profession, that there's not that many really good, talented, gifted doctors or lawyers or dentists or whatever the profession is, acting, um, waiting tables, whatever the profession is, there's not that many that are really great at it. And even the ones that are really great at it are still going to have days where they're not great at it. So it's important to find what fits for you. And, you know, especially with therapists, especially with law enforcement, especially with doctors, there's a lot of fields where it's of the utmost importance that you don't just take for granted that simply because this person has a degree or a job title that makes them reasonable or decent. Again, look at the guy who just got arrested, the suspect. Getting a doctorate degree makes you look like a winner, right? Just being in graduate school makes you look like a winner. People think you're all kinds of that in a bag of chips simply because you're in graduate school. And proof right there doesn't mean jack. Okay. You are a warrior, Kale says. Oh, you're so sweet. You guys are like my therapists, okay? So A One Way Street says, I would love her to be my therapist. So again, I try not to get too goofy, but sometimes I feel like this is our group therapy and you're my therapist. So I'll be your therapist. We're all in this together. We are. We're working it out. Um, and then someday when I have my technology, I can have a panel too where I'm not just reading your comments, but people can come up and share and talk with their own mouths, not me just reading it. But this works for now, right? Alex says, hey, beautiful lady, first live I've caught you in a while. Hope you had the best Christmas. Yeah, we had a really nice Christmas, but we had a crappy New Year. Puppy dog passed away. So Kitty Tatty says number 20. Not sure what that is. Leave your DNA, please. That's funny. With sharing, please check after share you are still subscribed. YouTube is working on that. Thanks for saying that. Living Lake Time did a video on that like a week ago, and I've meant to bring that up to my people that there's a glitch in the YouTube system right now, perhaps, where when you share something, it unsubscribes you from that thing that you just shared from. So you don't need to quit sharing stuff. You just need to make sure you're resubscribed if it did kick you out of the subscriber mode. And it's probably just a hiccup in the system. YouTube, like Facebook and like so many things, is constantly changing. So as they're like updating and upgrading, their new and improved things, then new problems arise that they've created that they haven't realized and haven't worked out yet. So saying it was a man's birthday, yes. I think over amount of stress causes temporary memory loss. Absolutely, Heavenly Clouds. It absolutely does. Especially, I think like the pandemic, I think hurt our memories like across the boards on so many levels. And like when my mother passed away last year, my brain was just fried. Like I couldn't remember anything. Zaire fought him in Zaire in 1974. That's the Rumble in the Jungle. Yep. Thank you. Lucky Lady says stress and depression will both cause memory loss. I've had memory loss since I was little. I have barely any memories from before around 30. Wow. Isn't that wild? That is so wild. Heavenly Clouds, stress really does a number on the mind and body. And spirit too, I mean, it's so important to keep your mind, your body, your spirit all tended to, whatever that means for you and whatever it is that you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because no one else can do it for you, right? Nobody, even if they want to. Even if they're trying, we all have to do it for ourselves. Lucky Lady says, I can't remember when my kids were babies. Well, good thing you have pictures, hopefully. Sometimes, pictures can really jog the memory. Stress has taken a toll on my heart, so taking meds for it. So all is well. Remember the ad he put out for help in describing a crime? So thank you, Kathleen. I'm just kind of all over the place. There's so much information. And I wanted to talk about the Green River Killer still, but I also want to talk about the ad that he put out for help in describing a crime. So the accused put up a lot of comments and posts on 4chan that seem like they are him legitimately, and talking about the crime and just saying all kinds of crazy stuff. And again, that is much of the content in the new Crime Circus that Drip Drop just put out today. Mind boggling, absolutely mind boggling. So, am I caught up? I want to talk about the Green River Killer, so I don't forget to cover that. But let me make sure I'm caught up right before I do that. Um, I'm at work on a little break, so I get to catch your live. Cool. Thanks, Huffy Gal, for being here. Hope you and everyone are having a wonderful day. Um, yes. So BK, I just can't stand saying names of crooks and criminals and murderers. He's an alleged murderer. He's an alleged criminal, and I want to be really careful to point that out. Um, the man arrested for the murder. 4 university students pulled over by cops 2 times during the cross country road trip with his dad. Really? Crown Royal. That's a hot piece of information that I have not heard yet. I thought you were going to say being pulled over in Moscow, because a couple of months before the homicides, he was pulled over. He got a ticket for not wearing his seatbelt. And I had not heard about that. Pulled over by cops 2 times during the cross country road trip. Fascinating. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about that. I think he was referring to previous SK saying the same thing, even though he acted alone. Studied SK too much, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I thought I was almost caught up. Where am I? Yeah. Okay. I'm right there. Heavenly Clouds. Intrigued. Oh, Heavenly Clouds. Kale is being so nice. Just kicking the credit to Heavenly Clouds for using the word intrigued instead of obsessed. And yeah, that is a really wise word choice. I like it. Thank you. Oh, and Heavenly Cloud says not seeing anything else that happened on November 13th. Um, oh, and then the trauma triggers adopted, and way better word. Yep. Um, I don't remember my horrible wreck. I went airborne, landed in a river, and thank God it was low and not up like normal in October. The car slid and stopped at the edge of the channel drop off. Oh my goodness. How long ago was that, Huffy Gal? Thank goodness. Guardian angels. I really believe in them. Paris terrorist attacks were 11/13/2015. I think that is the one that people were bringing up a few days ago online. Good thing you didn't remember that. It sounds horrible. Right. See, and that's the thing. Sometimes PTSD and disassociation, those are survival mechanisms. It's ourselves protecting ourselves from things that ourselves knows that we can't handle. And that's okay. Not sure why someone thinks the 13th means something. A lot of people think the 13th it's a satanic day, and of course a lot of people think 13 is bad luck. For me personally, 13 has always been good luck. So um hopefully that doesn't mean anything negative to anybody. I've always just said that if it's going to be unlucky for everyone else, it's got to be lucky for somebody. So like if I had a choice choosing my number for sports, I would always take 13 if I could. um let's see. The same with doctors. Yes, absolutely. The Justice Tribe. I love that. I love that. Like the Justice Tribe of Warriors. All right. Oh, Bloody Sunday in 1887. Yee, in London. That's the 13th of November, I'm assuming. A lot of creators are complaint because subs significantly dropping. You know, yeah, that's such a good point, especially when people, we all say, please like, share, and subscribe. And then the sharing is going to bring the sub number down if people don't catch it and realize and resub. And yeah, sometimes I think that YouTube might be deleting some people's subs when they're um, maybe accidentally, maybe not accidentally. I don't know. But for me personally, it's really quality over quantity. There was a Freudian slip, right? I mean, if somebody wants to unsub for whatever reason, I'm fine with that. Like, I feel committed to doing what I see is important to me, and you guys are very important to me. And at the same time, if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. There's so many content creators, and I think our tastes change, and it's fine to move on. Um, and I really appreciate the subscribers, and I really appreciate that it's okay to unsubscribe if that's something that somebody wants to do for whatever reason. um, okay, I think we're getting all caught up, and then I'm gonna talk about that Green River crap instead of BTK, right? Yeah, and again, he doesn't even deserve to be identified if he's guilty of these things. He doesn't. He's worse than nothing if he did these things. Ugh, I it certainly is looking like he did, but we don't know that yet. Let's see. That reminds me, you are a great therapist. Kept me listening, girl. Thank you, Justice with Java. Your channel is therapy to me. Oh, that's so sweet. Um, and the tagline that Squirrels on Fire gave to me was "Get yourself ungaslit" at Justice A to Z. Ungaslit with Justice A to Z, right? Fred Field says, I just heard from Kevin Neese. He is fine. Video soon. He has been watching football. LOL. That's funny. Good to know. Yeah, Kevin's a good guy. Crown Royal, do you have a source or link for that one that you feel like sharing? The Adden survey are so creepy. I imagine he got so many ideas from it, not to mention making lots of new criminal friends. Totally lucky lady. Absolutely. Lots of criminal friends. That's a really good point. Making connections, networking. I mean, really, right? And somebody had said earlier in the live, earlier today, that he put that ad up recently when that study was done 3 years ago. So I've just got a sleeping doggy over here if you're wondering what the noises are, like talking in his sleep, dreaming. Let's see. So Miss Anonymous says, I think it's him on the Reddit video. Are you talking about that one where you can kind of see his image in the screen? Because that's a weird one. There's so much weird stuff that he put online or that other people have put pretending to be him, but I do think a lot of it is him. And he's just compulsive. He can't stop himself. He's having fun with it. It's a game, but also he's just too compulsive. He just can't stop himself from commenting and these things that that's good because that's going to help bust him, basically, if it is him. And if it's not him, then wow, he's even just mind blowing. Um, Keeping close tabs on him cross country. I sure hope so. When will you be on live again? Probably tomorrow morning. A crime in December 13th, 2022, stabbing in Oregon. Ugh, another one, December 13th, just this past year. And 2017 crushed my L1 and vertebrae. Oh, okay, that car accident you were talking about. Oh, that sounds terrible. Nixon debated Kennedy on the 13th. That's funny. We have all kinds of bad luck. That's why I changed my name. Cute. Let's see. Cracked my femur, caused 3 different autoimmune diseases to come out full force. Wow. Wow. Autoimmune disease is what took the doggy yesterday, and it came on full force like overnight. The vet had never seen anything like it. And that dog was very healthy and young and had great health care. So autoimmune diseases are nothing to mess with. Okay, I'm so close to being caught up. Phantasmic Ether, you're an angel. Miss Jess, thank you for being such an awesome creator and individual. Oh, you're too nice. We are very blessed to learn with and from you. You are badass. Oh, I love being badass. Thank you. I try, but really I try just to be myself, and that's what makes it fun, is just being authentic. And look, I almost messed up my thing. I almost lost you guys for a second there because I used 3 fingers accidentally instead of 1 or 2. Okay, so let's do the catch up, get to the Green River stuff. If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. That's cute. Let's try not to give the accused a cute name. No glory. No glory. Yes. Yeah, I know it. That came to me too. Heavenly Clouds, the thing with the initials of the accused. Yeah, I totally get it. And yeah, I think what Kale said is a really good idea. No cute names for bad guys. They do not need any attention because they do it for attention. Um, Lucky lady, my cousin got into a really bad accident, shattered her pelvis and her ear. It's terrible. The chronic pain living with those injuries are debilitating. And I think I'm so close to being caught up. Let's see. Yes, I am. I'm right there. Okay, great. I don't think it was the networking. I think it was for him to learn from other people's mistakes and redo it better for himself. Miss Anonymous, I think that's a really astute opinion and perspective. And I think that the networking would be huge, absolutely huge. And I wonder if that's not how he came into contact with some of the people that got him involved in this whole thing. No offense. I just wanted to take that glory away from the killers. Good one. Good to clarify that. I wonder if he would break if we stopped giving him YouTube time. Oh, yeah, because, yeah, I mean, this has got to be so thrilling to him to have all these people putting out content about him. Hadn't even thought about that. Ugh. Okay. He was allegedly one of the callers on T-Rev 757, right? I think that was over the weekend, right? Number was under a Dave Morse, which was the name of a famous horror actor. And T-Rev was never able to contact the person back, ironically. Yeah, I saw a little bit about that going on, Phantasmic Ether. And woman needs to be in charge of the country. Yeah, the women are smarter. Remember that Grateful Dead song? Women are smarter. Maybe I should stop commenting. Oh, you're fine, Kale. You're good. He probably feels like a rock star. Totally. Totally. I want to highlight that one. And then do what I keep saying I'm going to do. Talk about a horrible person that shouldn't be talked about. But I wanted to share with you because it is enlightening. Okay. So the Green River Killer, who Gary Ridgway, he was busted in 91. He had admitted to 49 homicides. It's estimated that he's probably responsible for more like 90 plus. He was arrested in 1991. Is that when he was arrested? Am I getting my wires crossed? I'm thinking it was later than that. I think I got my wires crossed. If anybody wants to Google it, when the Green River Killer was arrested, I want to say it was more like the year 2000, wasn't it? Anyway, I've got so many notes. I got myself a little bit confused. So when he was arrested in Seattle area, he was one of the things I wanted to share was how fascinating what it was that got him busted after so many homicides, and he had it down to a science. He was a truck driver. I don't think he was a long haul truck driver. I think he was like short ride truck driver. But he lived in the Seattle area. He was married. His wife just thought he was the sweetest guy. And I remember he said that one of his biggest hobbies was going to yard sales. And he would pick up women that were in the sex industry, and so they often would not get reported missing. Um, but one of the things that got him busted was the paint on his rig. There was like, I want to say that there some paint got scraped off of his truck on like a cement pillar or something like that. Like maybe he was trying to pick up a victim and he kind of crashed a little bit into that cement pillar. Somehow they knew that that paint was from the killer, and they got that paint off of the cement pillar. So they knew that, just this random little fender bender. And then eventually they were able to match the paint to his truck. I remember it being yellow, and his truck was maybe parked at his house or maybe where he was working. But anyway, the investigators went out to his truck and got some of the paint off of the truck and matched it. And that was what got him arrested. Like something that remote. And, you've got to credit these detectives that are on it like that. I mean, that man killed so many people. So when they arrested him in Seattle, and did somebody, okay, Miss Anonymous says it's 2003. Thank you. That's great. When they arrested him in 2003, and I was living in the Seattle area up until 2009, I lived in that area from I first moved to Olympia in 87, and then down to San Francisco, Portland, Oregon for a year, San Francisco for a couple of years, and then up to the Seattle area in like 97. So I was there for 12 years before moving back to Ohio. Anyway, when they arrested Gary Ridgway, they couldn't put him in the jail because, criminals have like the code of ethics. They would have killed him. They would have absolutely killed him for what he did to people. So they put him, of all places, they put him in an office, like an abandoned corporate office, where they were able to guard him. And everybody that was there in this corporate office that they were renting specifically for housing him, and it had to be a remote location that was top secret that nobody knew of because they figured that people were going to come after him. But they had security there, but they also had lawyers that were working on the case working there. And he was like free to roam around in this office area because it was supervised and there were guards everywhere. But the people working on his case were like looking at photographs of crime scenes and victims, and he's walking around. Like, who does that? I could not believe that the law enforcement thought that was suitable. I mean, even though he wasn't able to hurt people because there were guards there, the psychological torture of like looking at these crime scene photographs and detailed accounts of what happened, and then he's walking by saying hi or looking at you or whatever. Out of control crazy. Out of control crazy. So yeah, he had been married to his wife, I want to say, for 20 or 30 years, and she was so devastated. I don't think they had kids, but she was so devastated because this was her knight in shining armor. This was the man of her dreams. She thought she found the nicest husband in the world. Come to find out that he was one of the most evil in the world. I mean, that's the thing about how anybody can be tricked like that. It's not because she was ignorant. It's not because she had rose-colored glasses. It's because he was a pro, you know? It's just unbelievable. So, I don't think we can blame ourselves if we find ourselves in a situation like that. Of course, we want to be aware, as aware as we can be, and we want to be smart and make good choices, but we can all be tricked. So, just wanting to say that I'm looking up and noticing that it's already 1 hour and 15 minutes. So, I do want to wrap up, and I'm going to read a few more of your questions. I think I have covered everything that I had in my notes, except one thing right here. Um, that the douchebag, the alleged douchebag that allegedly murdered the four in Moscow, that he had the layout of the house where it happened. He was posting that on 4chan. I think it was 4chan. It could have been Reddit or something else, but he literally had the floor plan, posted it 2 days before the homicide. I want to say that that was in Crime Circus's video from today. So let me get caught up on your comments and then we'll wrap it up. Here we are. Let's see. Yeah. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah, don't get me started on that, Alex. We'll talk about that next time. I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it also is super creepy, for real creepy. It's not just a comedy and a musical and fantastic. It's also super creepy. Um, I'm always up for enlightening. I will be on my elliptical listening. Oh, very good for you, Heavenly Clouds. That's awesome to do your elliptical while you're listening. I often try to do yoga when I'm listening to shows that I really like. Or when I'm out walking, I have them on my phone. Do you think he has access to internet where he's at? He's probably going crazy without being able to watch it all. Oh my goodness, that is a good thought. I think he will probably make people come interview him in prison like a celebrity. Yep. Yeah, very, very good points. Hopefully, he does not have access to the internet. I'm not sure how they handle that in prisons lately. I know for a long time, no prisoners were allowed any internet access because, that's like a luxury that you don't get when you're being punished. But now, with everything being digital and electronic, I would bet that they do. Some prisoners have access to that, especially if they're on good behavior. I don't know. I don't know. That's just terrible. Um, so see, I was caught up and then I got uncaught up. There we are, caught up again. He terrorized the entire Pacific Northwest. Yes. YouTuber YT is already positioned to interview him outside of jail. Yeah. Yeah, people need to be really careful with that. Like when you're studying criminals, is again, that type of research can be very dangerous. It can be a very slippery slope and it's easy to get tricked. Anybody can get tricked. So any YouTuber who's talking to somebody like that, I would recommend not doing it, or just trying to be as cautious as possible. Like have other people around you know what you're doing, not just to keep tabs on you, but to keep tabs on you psychologically to see that you don't get sucked in, because that's what they do. They suck people in. They're experts. They're pros. So, anyway, alleged douchebag. Yes, that's a good one, isn't it? I thought it was cute too when I said it, because I say alleged a lot and I say douchebag a lot, but I don't think I've ever put the two together. Lucky lady, didn't he just move to Pullman in August or something like that? I wonder what made him choose that area. I wonder how long he was following the girls online. Good questions, lucky lady. A series of good questions. So yeah, he did. This was his first term at Washington State University, and I think he moved in the spring. I think his mother put some post up on some group that she was in about how hard it was for her that her 26-year-old son was moving to Washington for school when he was actually 27, and maybe she just miscalculated. I know sometimes that can happen, but it's curious. And I wondered too, why did he pick Pullman? Because there are, honestly, Washington State is known for serial killers. It also has a very high rate of unaliving selves, but a very high rate of unaliving others. And right away, I wondered about that. Like, is that why he picked Pullman? Is he thought that that would be a good place? 2 days before the crime or 2 days before the arrest, Kale Penna? I think it was 2 days before the crime. I have to go back and rewatch the Crime Circus, the 22-minute live that he did today. I think it was 2 days before the crime was committed that he posted the um, floor plan, but maybe I misinterpreted. Maybe it was 2 days before the arrest. So I'll go back and watch that and readdress it. Um, Just getting here. We'll watch replay. Oh, Sherry. Yeah, just keep trying to wrap up, trying to get caught up on the chat, trying to say what I wanted to say about the Green River killer in Washington State who was arrested in 2003 when I was living in that area. And I knew that he was housed in an office park. I didn't know which one. Nobody knew which one. But I would be looking around when I was driving around areas where there were empty office parks, and I'd just be like, man, like, you just can't be too careful. If you were unaware and you're trying to find your dentist's office or something and you stumble into the office park where they're housing Gary Ridgway during the investigation and the pre-trial planning. Unbelievable. So yeah, stay safe. And Miss Justice Rockstar Justice Warriors, a YouTube creator knocked on door at the home in Pennsylvania last Friday. They were told to vacate the premises. Wow. I think that Brian Enton knocked on the door of the parents' house. I saw a video about that, and they had like duct tape over the door because they had a big oval window in the middle of their front door. And I thought that was kind of odd that Brian Enton was doing that, but I trust Brian Enton as a reporter, and I did think it was pretty wild that he was doing that. So I don't know if you're talking about a lower profile YouTube creator, because I don't think Brian Enton's a YouTube creator. I think he's an actual newscaster. I'm pretty sure. Um, I did elliptical, drank almost a bottle of water and made a half a gallon of iced tea. LOL. Well, hopefully your iced tea doesn't have sugar in it or artificial sweeteners, because those are even worse for you. And a lot of iced tea is delicious without anything like that. And yeah, I love tea. So good for you. Wow, that is interesting. Washington State. I never knew that. Heavenly Clouds. I loved Washington State. I really do. It was a great place to call home for a long time. But there's some wacky stuff there. Well, like I said, the unaliving of selves and others is like off the charts high in that Western Washington, Seattle area. Um, but that choice about having a vacant corporate office for housing one of the most prolific serial killers of all time and having him mill about with professionals, I thought was insane, out of control, crazy. But I worked in the courts in King County, and there was a lot of insane, out of control, crazy in the court system there. It was very shocking to me because I just kind of honestly saw it as kind of Neanderthal, like they were just way behind the times. It was like, you would think because Seattle being a big city that they'd be all hip and smart and on it and with it, and they were not. In the court system, they were not. So on that, let's get to the wrapping up part. I love you guys. I could just go on forever and ever. This is a long one. It's an hour and 23 minutes right now, but I'm going to wrap it up because it's about 3:30. Did I do my timestamp at the beginning? I think I did. And I think I did my disclaimer, and I think I did the please like part. So then I get to the end where I say, drink your water, eat your protein, eat your fruits and your vegetables, get your exercise, rest, relax, try to keep your stress level down, be healthy, be honest, be true to yourself, and screw everyone else. No, I'm just kidding. But to some point, there's truth to every joke, right? It's so important to be true to yourself. Um, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Absolutely. And highest consumption of coffee per capita, also Seattle or Washington. Well, right. And that's where Starbucks was born. But yeah, you got to keep up with the coffee consumption when people don't realize how far north Washington state is in Seattle. It's not just like the most northwestern tip of our country, but when we look at our country on maps, the United States, like if this is Seattle and this is Florida, it's always straightened out like that. So you don't see how far north Seattle is. You're pretty much in Canada and Alaska territory. And in the wintertime, you do not get very much daylight. And in the summertime, you get way too much daylight. So it does lend itself to like the seasonal affective disorder and the kind of hypomania in the summer, which could be that combination of what creates the people that do the unaliving. I mean, seriously. But the coffee helps. Helps calm all that down. Let's see. Yes, it is exactly where the first Starbucks was open at the Pike Street Market, Pike and Pine. There's a lot of jokes about Pike and Pine if you're from Seattle because everyone always forgets. Like one goes north south, one goes east west, and everyone forgets which is which. So it's just like one of the oldest Seattle jokes. But Pike Street Market got very famous, and probably because that's where Starbucks was born. Um, and so interesting, maybe all the caffeine made them go nuts. Just kidding. Right. Heavenly clouds, the caffeine is what keeps them from going too nuts, in my humble opinion. I live in Florida and I do not like their iced tea. It tastes like sugar water. Can't even taste the tea. That's so funny. I know. I'm not a big fan of sweet tea either. I really like good quality iced tea, like passion tea at Starbucks is one of my favorite. And it's good with no sweetener in it. It's also good with the sugar in it. So anyway, enough for plugging for Starbucks, right? Thanks so much. A1 Street says, we love you too. I use new stevia, LOL, and screw everyone else. I am really suspicious of artificial sweeteners. They are very sus, in my opinion. I think sugar is bad, but I think artificial sweeteners are even worse, in my opinion. So, if you have something like diabetes, then yeah, you need to figure out what works for you and definitely stay away from sugar and maybe use artificial sweeteners once in a while. But for the most part, I just think they're toxic. I think we need to be very sus of artificial sweeteners. I live near Alaska in Canada. It was crazy. Never got dark during the summer. Right. And if you go up to Barrows, Alaska, the sun sets in November and Barrows stays dark black until January. So they have 3 months where the sun does not come up at all. Barrows, Alaska. Look it up. It's nuts and it makes people nuts. It's very unhealthy to live like that. All right, you guys. Pike coffee. Passion, yes. Lemonade, no sweetener. Yes, if you do half iced tea and half lemonade, that's a good way to go. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I love you, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. I hope to see you tomorrow morning. Just like I said, take really good care of yourself. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you get your exercise and your rest and healthy nutrition, and try to keep your sugar consumption down. It makes such a big difference. Everything a human needs is the planet. Everything a human needs is the planet. That's cute. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but it's very cute. I'm going to highlight it and then sign off for good. Excuse me. And heavenly clouds. I'll read your comment right there. Thanks, Xena. Bye. Chat, be safe. See you next time. And remember to like on the way out. Thanks, you guys. I hope to see you tomorrow morning. I appreciate you so much. Have a fabulous rest of your afternoon and be well. Take care.